Mr. Patzer.
Yep.
Mr. Small.
Yes.
Ms. Stubbs.
Yes.
Mr. Simard.
No.
Mr. Angus.
Yes.
10 yeas, 1 nay.
Clauses 117 to 122 carry. We'll now proceed to clause 123. Shall clause 123 carry?
Why did we stop it there?
CPC 10?
Why
Well, that's
123?
Article 125. Oh, where are you at?
Well, you stopped us at 123, but
We can group 123 and 124. Do we have consent to do that? Yes? Okay. Shall clauses 123 and 124 carry?
Yes.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Aldag.
yes.
Ms. Dillon.
Yes.
Ms. Jones.
Yes.
Madame Lapointe.
We.
Mr. Cervera.
We.
Mr. Falk.
Yes.
Mr. Patzer.
Yes.
Mr. Small.
Yes.
Ms. Stubbs.
Yes.
Mr. Simard.
No.
Mr. Angus.
Yes.
10 yeas, 1 nay.
Clauses 123 and 124 carry. We'll now proceed to clause 125, CPC 10. Do we have a mover for CPC 10? Ms. Stubbs, go ahead. Or you want to move it, Mr. Falk? Ms. Stubbs? Oh, okay. Ms. Stubbs, go ahead.
I think he just told you he was speaking next.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Ted just did. Thanks, Chair. I will be happy to move this motion in a second. And right before that, I want to move the other motion that I gave
Mr. Chair?
notice of on March 15th. And I know, Chair, that you saw that at least Mr. Falk already wants to speak immediately after me. Related to my last intervention, I want to give the NDP, Liberal, and Bloc members on this committee another opportunity to vote in favor of their constituents being able to afford the basics that are necessary to live in this big, cold northern country, and the ability to be able to afford groceries and to be able to provide for their families and for their own daily lives. So I would like to move my second motion, of which I gave notice on March 15, that given that one in 5 Canadian households are living in energy poverty. 2, energy poverty means that households cannot afford to pay for energy costs that meet their daily needs and maintain healthy and safe indoor temperatures. 3, the Liberal government's 23% carbon tax increase on April 1st, 2024 is going to make household energy use even more expensive, making it even harder for those already living in energy poverty. In order to help the 1 in 5 Canadians living in energy poverty, the committee report to the House its recommendation to immediately cancel the Liberal government's 23% carbon tax increase on April 1st, 2024. I hope the members of the other parties will find some sense of compassion and also of common sense to listen to what Canadians are saying. Now, the willingness to ignore the vast majority of Canadians also being represented through their provincially elected representatives, like the 7 out of 10 premiers calling to spike the hike, that it is mind-boggling, but also perhaps instructive when the Prime Minister many years ago said that he admired the basic dictatorship in Beijing, because refusing to listen to the people crying out more Canadians going to food banks than ever before, people with skyrocketing power bills and unreliable sources of power now because of this government's anti-energy, anti-private sector, anti-resource development agenda. The Canadians who can't afford to fill up their gas tanks but also don't have any other options for how to get around. Canadians who live in remote and rural and northern regions where the basics are already more expensive, made even worse by the carbon tax and a government hell-bent on quadrupling it on April 1st. Canadians who are the working poor, the most vulnerable among us all, the people who can least afford it, 9 years in to this costly coalition's refusal to back away on the carbon tax, despite all the evidence and all the harm that it is causing. It is mind-boggling to think that those Canadians who Conservatives have warned for 9 years would be hurt the most, the working poor, vulnerable people. And the facts show today that that's exactly right, that the carbon tax hurts those people the most. Because when you hike the cost of energy, then you hike the cost of everything. You hike the cost of everything required to live in this country, including, at the top of the list, groceries. So that the costs at grocery stores are skyrocketing, and more Canadians have to visit food banks than ever before. And food banks are sounding the alarm this early into 2024, saying that they anticipate across the country 1 million more Canadians being forced to have to go there to feed themselves, feed their families, and help out their loved ones. This is not acceptable in 2024 in Canada, but it is particularly immoral and short-sighted and unacceptable because the NDP Liberal Costly Coalition has all the power in their hands to solve this problem. They have caused the issue in the first place by inflationary spending, by hiking taxes on nearly everything, and by plowing ahead in this carbon tax despite the warnings that Conservatives have given for 9 years, all of which have turned out to be true, and despite the majority opposition of premiers representing 7 out of 10 provinces across the country. The concept that this Prime Minister and the NDP Liberal Costly Coalition would ignore all of those Canadians, ignore the hurt and the harm and the pain that they have caused, ignore the stress and the anxiety and the unprecedented worry that Canadians of all ages in all areas of this country experience because they can't afford the basics anymore. I mean, that is truly immoral, isn't it? It's truly short-sighted, and it's actually anti-democratic. So once again, I hope that that members around this committee will demonstrate right now that we all know and we all remember what we're here for, which is to represent the people who elected us. And the vast majority of Canadians who elected us say they can't afford the carbon tax. And it is more blindingly obvious than ever that the carbon tax is not worth the cost. And giving this immediate relief to Canadians is in the hands of the NDP Liberal Costly Coalition. The NDP Liberal Costly Coalition, after 9 years of being in government in Canada, isn't some innocent bystander while all of this has happened and while the results are what they are today, which is more Canadians struggling in more communities across the country than ever before. Young people losing hope that they can afford to buy homes or to pursue their dreams. You know, parents, grandparents telling their kids they probably shouldn't try to make a go of life in rural Canada because they can't afford to do it anymore. More Canadians than ever before moving into multi-generational homes just to try to get by, to make ends meet. Meanwhile, in turn, these NDP Liberals who've been in power for 9 years and the NDP who prop them up now, act like they've just been kind of hanging out while all of this has occurred in front of them. A, that's not true, but B, you have the power. You have the power right now to stop this madness, to stop this insanity, to stop this cold-hearted, cruel April Fool's joke. At least, at the very minimum, spike the hike for April 1st and obviously axe the tax for all for good.
Thank you, Ms. Stubbs. We'll now go to our speaking order. I'll go to you, Mr. Falk, next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank my colleague, Ms. Stubbs, for giving this committee the opportunity today that she's providing. We have a very unique opportunity today, and that's to send the House of Commons a message from this committee as a natural resource committee that they need to end the increases to the carbon tax, and better yet would be to axe the tax completely. So we have that opportunity here today as a committee. Liberals, the NDP, refuse to even debate it. They always move to adjourn debate as soon as they get the floor, and I think that's reprehensible, to not even willingly debate this issue that's costing every single Canadian thousands of dollars every year. So I want to talk a little bit about what is it exactly that this motion does. It asks the House to stop the proposed increase to the carbon tax on April the 1st of an additional 23% hike to the existing carbon tax. We know that the carbon tax has already crippled many households. A 23% increase to that tax is going to push them over the edge. I want to, and I don't think people fully understand the carbon tax when they hear the word carbon tax. Oh, it's just like the GST, or it's like the HST or the PST. No, the carbon tax is very, very different. The HST, the PSTs, the GSTs, that's all an end user tax. The carbon tax is a compounding tax.